You ever notice how everyone talks about jackpots like they're just a game? Flashing lights, spinning wheels, confetti raining down when the numbers line up. But the real jackpot, that's not coins and tickets. That's a moment. A second in time where everything you've been crawling toward suddenly clicks. And here's the thing they never tell you: it doesn't come wrapped in gold paper. No, it comes disguised. Sometimes it looks like risk. Sometimes it looks like work. Sometimes it looks like madness. Most people walk right past it because they're waiting for the obvious sign. The big arrow saying this is it. The real jackpot, it's a tricky little devil. People think it's going to come wrapped up all neat, tied with a bow, maybe even delivered with a marching band to make sure they don't miss it. That's the fantasy. But the truth, it rarely even knocks on your door politely. It sneaks in through the cracks when you're too busy looking at the shiny distractions. You're staring at the slot machines, waiting for cherries to line up, and meanwhile, the real prize is sitting right there on the table. No lights, no sound effects, just waiting, and you might not even recognize it when it's staring you in the face. That's the beauty of it. Most people never do, because the real jackpot doesn't scream, "Look at me." It whispers, and whispers are so easy to ignore in a world full of noise. See, here's the sick little twist. The jackpot might not look like winning at all when it first shows up. It could look like a terrible idea, a bad investment, a fight you're not ready to have. Maybe it's an offer that scares you, or a path everyone else swears will fail. And because you're trained, conditioned, to believe jackpots only come gift, wrapped in comfort, you turn your head and keep walking. Meanwhile, someone else, someone hungrier, someone who isn't fooled by appearances, grabs it and runs. And you'll watch them leave, holding what could have been yours, wondering why life never handed you the same chances. Oh, but it did. You just didn't like the way they looked. People have this strange obsession with the ready-made happiness. They want it to be obvious, safe, certain. But jackpots aren't certain. They're dangerous. They demand you risk something: your time, your comfort, your security, maybe even your pride. And that's why most people never get them. Because to claim the real jackpot, you have to want it more than you want to feel safe. You have to look at the ugly, messy, unpredictable thing in front of you and say, That's mine, even if the whole room laughs at you for it. And here's where it gets fun. Sometimes the jackpot is just a tiny seed. Not gold, not glitter, just a plain, ordinary seed. It doesn't look like much. But if you're smart enough to take it, plant it, water it, and guard it while everyone else is laughing, one day it grows into something so big, so powerful, that everyone who mocked you now wishes they could go back and grab it first. But by then, it's too late. The prize has already been claimed, and the game has moved on. The real jackpot doesn't have patience for hesitation. It's slippery like smoke between your fingers. It's there and then gone. If you wait for certainty, you'll be waiting forever, and the jackpot will keep passing you by, moving to the hands of people who weren't afraid to look twice, to take the risk, to trust the whisper instead of the noise. And maybe that's the biggest joke life plays, hiding the biggest win, where most people will never think to look. Opportunities, those little creatures that love to dress up in disguises. They never walk up to you wearing a crown, glowing gold, shouting, "Here I am, take me." No, that would be too easy. They crawl in wearing torn clothes, looking like trouble, like risk, like something you should avoid. And most people, they take one glance, wrinkle their noses, and turn away. They think they're being smart, cautious, practical. But really, they're just slamming the door in the face of the very thing they've been praying for. Funny how people love to pray for miracles, but reject them the second they show up looking inconvenient. You see, opportunity doesn't care about your timing, your mood, your level of readiness. It comes when it wants, and it comes how it wants. Maybe you're tired, maybe you're broke, maybe you're standing knee deep in failure, and that's when it knocks. Most will say, "I can't take this now. I'm not prepared." But here's the twisted truth. You're never prepared. The people who take opportunities aren't ready. They're reckless enough to jump before the ground looks solid. They trust the leap more than the ledge, and the world rewards the leap, not the comfort. People think opportunities are like buses. Miss one, and another will come along. That's a sweet little lie they tell themselves to sleep better at night. But some buses never come back. Some doors close for good. Some moments will never, ever repeat themselves. That's the real danger. Thinking life is generous with second chances. No life gives you one shot, and if you hesitate, it gives it to someone else. And they'll take it, and they'll run, and you'll watch them live the life you could have had, convincing yourself they were lucky. But luck is just the name losers give to other people's courage. And then there's the delicious irony. The bigger the opportunity, the more it will look like chaos. It won't come in a straight line. It'll be wrapped in problems, tied with inconvenience, soaked in uncertainty. You'll feel your stomach knot just thinking about saying yes. And that's the sign. It's the right one. If it doesn't scare you, it's not big enough. If it feels safe, it's probably a trap. But if it keeps you up at night, if it makes your pulse race, if it forces you to question whether you can even handle it, that's when you know you've found the real thing. Opportunities have an ugly habit of knocking softly. No explosions, no grand entrance, just a faint tap. And you'll miss it if you're too busy drowning in distractions. Everyone's scrolling, waiting for life to scream at them. But life doesn't scream, it whispers. And only those who are paying attention, only those who can spot the treasure hiding in the dirt, get to claim it. The rest, they keep digging in the wrong places, waiting for something shiny to catch their eye, never realizing they've been stepping over gold the whole time. So here's the twisted game. Opportunities don't need to be fair. They don't line up for everyone equally. They like the ones who are awake, alert, hungry enough to see what others miss. And when you take one, when you grab it before anyone else even realizes it's worth grabbing, you're not just winning. You're changing the rules. Because now the game isn't about waiting. It's about taking. People love to pretend they have time. They stroll through life as if the clock is just some decoration on the wall, ticking away politely until they're ready. They think tomorrow is guaranteed, that the future is this neat little storage box where they can keep all the dreams they're too lazy to chase today. They forget that the box can vanish in an instant, burn, break, disappear, while they're still rehearsing for a show that's already started without them. And when the curtain finally drops, they stand there, blinking, wondering how it all slipped away. It's funny, isn't it? The way they waste the one thing they can never get back. Time is the most valuable currency, but nobody treats it like it. They'll guard their wallets. their possessions, their secrets, but their minutes. Oh, those they spend recklessly, handing them over to meaningless distractions. People who don't care, habits that drain the soul. It's strange. People will fight tooth and nail to protect something replaceable. But the very thing that's slipping through their fingers second by second, they barely notice. And then one day they do notice, and by then the account is empty. The cruel part is that life doesn't tell you when your balance is low. There's no warning sign, no friendly reminder. One day you're planning, waiting, preparing. The next, the lights go out, and the things you were too scared to do, too proud to say, too comfortable to chase, they're gone, locked in a vault you'll never touch again. People like to say, oh, one day, as if it's a promise. But one day is just a myth we tell ourselves to make the present feel less urgent. And here's the real trick. Time is faster than you think. It speeds up when you're distracted. It disappears when you're comfortable. It slips away quietly while you tell yourself, I'll start tomorrow. Tomorrow is the favorite hiding place for procrastination. But when tomorrow finally comes, it doesn't arrive as a friend. It comes as a thief, taking with it the chance you thought you could save for later. People keep waiting for the perfect moment. Oh, that's a good one. As if the world will pause, roll out a red carpet, and announce, "Now is your time." The perfect moment is a fairy tale. In reality, the perfect moment is always now, dressed up in imperfections, wrapped in chaos, carrying all the excuses you could possibly use to avoid it. And most people take those excuses and wear them like armor, never realizing that armor is the very thing keeping them from moving forward. There's a reason regret weighs more than failure. Failure stings for a while, but it passes. Regret, that stays. It whispers to you in the quiet moments, shows up in the middle of the night, sits at the foot of your bed like an unwelcome guest. It reminds you of the things you didn't do, the words you didn't say, the chances you didn't take. And the worst part, you can't go back and fix it. You can only watch it rot in the past while you wonder what could have been. The truth is, every day is a countdown you can't see. Every choice, every hesitation, every distraction chips away at a clock that's been ticking since the moment you arrived. And the punchline, you'll never know when it hits zero until it does. That's why the ones who move fast, the ones who act while everyone else is still thinking, they're the ones who win. Not because they're smarter or stronger or better, but because they understand the clock doesn't care about your plans. People crave control. Oh, they love the illusion of it, making lists, drawing up plans, setting goals, as if the universe has signed a little contract promising to behave. They map out their lives like neat little cities, with roads leading exactly where they want to go. But then reality strolls in, tips the table over, and laughs while everyone scrambles to pick up their precious pieces. That's the game. Control is the sweetest lie, and most people are hooked on it. See, life doesn't care about your plans. It doesn't care about your timelines or your careful little steps. You can plan every detail, anticipate every move, but all it takes is one unexpected twist to flip the script completely. And here's the joke, those twists, they're the best parts. But most people are too busy panicking to notice. They fight the current, kicking and screaming, instead of learning how to swim with it. People get so attached to the way they think things should go. They cling to their rules, the way they believe life is supposed to work. If I do this, then I'll get that. If I'm good, I'll be rewarded. If I work hard, I'll succeed. Neat, clean equations. But life doesn't run on equations. It runs on chaos. And chaos doesn't play by your rules. The ones who thrive aren't the ones who cling to their map. They're the ones who know how to tear it up and draw a new one in the middle of the storm. The funny thing is, everyone says they want change until change actually arrives. They say, I want something new, but what they really mean is, I want the same thing, but slightly better and without discomfort. But change doesn't knock politely. It breaks the door down, throws your furniture around, and dares you to adapt. And while everyone else is too busy crying over the mess, the ones who understand the game are already building something new out of the wreckage. Control is just fear wearing a nice suit. People think they're being responsible by sticking to the plan, by keeping everything safe and predictable. But really, they're terrified of uncertainty, terrified of losing, terrified of looking foolish. They'd rather live in a tiny, controlled box than risk stepping into the wild unknown. And that's exactly why they stay stuck, because the box feels safe, even though it's a prison. Here's the twist. When you finally let go of control, you find real power. Not the fake power of making everything bend to your will, but the kind that comes from knowing you can handle whatever happens. When the rules change, you adapt. When the plan collapses, you improvise. When life throws you somewhere you didn't expect, you find a way to make it work. That's strength. Not clinging to the old order, but dancing with the chaos. The truth is, the rules have never been fixed. They shift all the time, sometimes subtly, sometimes violently. What worked yesterday might fail tomorrow. What seemed impossible a week ago might suddenly be your reality. And if you're too attached to the old rules, you'll miss the opening when the new ones arrive. But if you're watching closely, if you're ready to move when everyone else is frozen, that's when you take the lead. Because in the end, the ones who think they've got control are just waiting to be proven wrong. And the ones who've given it up, they're already rewriting the game, while the rest are still trying to play by the old manual everyone talks about opportunity, like it's some polite little knock on the door. As if life waits outside, hat in hand, asking if now's a good time. No. Real opportunity. It doesn't knock. It kicks the door off its hinges, storms in, and starts flipping chairs. It doesn't care if you're ready. It doesn't care if you're dressed for it. It's loud, messy. We inconvenient, and it leaves as quickly as it came if you hesitate. But most people, they stand there frozen, trying to tidy up the place before making a move. By the time they act, the moment's already gone, laughing on its way out. The world is full of people waiting for the right time, the right sign, the perfect conditions. They treat life like a board game, thinking there's a neat little turn order, as if they'll get their chance when it's supposed to come. You ever notice how people think they're unshakable? They walk around with this armor. Not the metal kind, no. This one's made of ego, of certainty, of the little lies they tell themselves so they can sleep at night. And then something comes along. Not a punch, not a fall, but a message. Just a few words, and suddenly that armor cracks. It's funny how words can do that. Slip past every defense. Straight into the place you swore nobody could reach. This isn't about noise or theatrics. It's about the quiet truth that makes the ground under your feet feel just a little less solid. It's funny, really, how people spend their whole lives training themselves to endure the punches. They lift weights, they toughen their skin, they grit their teeth and think, I can take it. Physical pain, they get it, they can brace for it. But the mind, oh, that's a different battlefield altogether. The mind has no armor, no steel plating, no helmet that can block what slips in through the cracks. You can be built like a tank, and a single sentence, just a few little syllables, can have you rattling inside like coins in a tin can. See, the body reacts to impact instantly. There's no mystery in it, but the mind doesn't just react, it plays. It takes that truth, that tiny shard of information, and spins it around like a blade on a table, letting it scrape and scratch and sing its little tune until you can't stop hearing it. It's not the force that gets you, it's the echo. You feel it long after it's over, long after anyone else has forgotten. And by then, it's too late. The seed's already planted. Most people think they're in control of what they feel, that they can decide when to be scared, when to stay calm. But one carefully placed truth, one moment where the curtains pulled back just enough, and suddenly the heart races without permission, the palms sweat without warning. You're not scared because someone told you to be. You're scared because now your own mind is painting pictures you never wanted to see. And once those pictures are in there, you can't just erase them. They stay, they wait, and that's the beautiful, terrible thing about the mind. It doesn't need a wound to bleed. It doesn't need a shove to stumble. It just needs the right thought, whispered in the right ear at the right time. Then, the toughest person in the room isn't the one standing tall. It's the one who hasn't heard it yet. Because once they do, well, the game changes. And they realize the scariest battles aren't fought with fists or weapons. They're fought in the dark corners of their own head. Fear's a tricky little creature. People think it comes charging in with sirens and screams, claws and teeth. But know the real fear, the kind that sinks deep, doesn't arrive like a monster crashing through your door. It slips in quietly, hums a little tune. It's not in the message itself. It's in what that message lets loose in your head. Because once it's in there, your imagination is the one doing all the heavy lifting. See, the mind hates an unfinished puzzle. Give it a piece, a small, oddly shaped jagged little piece, and it'll keep turning it over, wondering where it fits. And while it's doing that, it starts to picture the rest of the puzzle. You didn't give it the image. You didn't even give it the box. But somehow, it starts to build the whole thing anyway. And here's the catch. What the mind imagines is almost always worse than reality, because reality has rules. Fear doesn't. Fear can bend the edges, stretch the shadows, and make the corners darker than they've ever been. That's why a short, simple message can be more dangerous than an hour of warnings. If you tell someone exactly what's coming, they start building defenses. But if you just suggest it, hint at it, they'll fill in the blanks with every horrible possibility they can think of. And once that's done, you don't have to lift a finger. They'll keep feeding it themselves, over and over, until their own thoughts become the prison bars. It's not about the loudness. It's about the silence that follows. Not the punchline, but the pause right after. That's where fear breeds, in the empty spaces where the mind starts whispering to itself, what if? And once it starts, it doesn't stop. Day turns to night, and the same thought is still there, pacing in the dark, tapping at the inside of your skull. That's when you realize it was never the message itself. It was the little spark it left behind, the one you can't put out. Certainty, now that's a pretty little illusion people wrap themselves in. Like a warm blanket on a cold night, they cling to it, thinking it's real, thinking it'll keep them safe. They build their days on it, their choices, their plans, the plans. Everything neatly lined up in their heads like dominoes, all ready to fall exactly the way they expect. And then you give them one small nudge, one detail they didn't expect, one truth they never saw coming. And snap, the whole thing collapses before they even realize what's happening. See, certainty is brittle. It looks solid, feels solid, until you test it. Then you find out it's made of thin glass. People spend years stacking it up, telling themselves stories to keep the cracks hidden. They avoid questions they can't answer. They ignore signs they can't explain. Because deep down they know, if they look too close, it might break. And when it does, it's not quiet, it's loud. Not in sound, but in feeling. That sinking, spinning, weightless drop in your chest when the world you thought you knew shifts. And here's the delicious part. The breaking never happens where they expect it. No, it's always the little things. A sentence they overhear, a look someone gives them, a coincidence they can't shake. They'll replay it over and over, trying to convince themselves it's nothing. But the more they try, the more they feel it. That tiny fracture growing, spreading, and suddenly, all those neat little dominoes, they're not standing anymore. They're scattered across the floor, and they can't remember which way they were supposed to fall. It's funny, isn't it? People think certainty makes them strong, but the truth is, it's the softest part of them. It's where they're most vulnerable. Because once you crack it open, everything else starts to unravel. Their memories, their beliefs, even the way they look at the faces they've known for years. It all changes, and there's no going back. You can tape the glass together, sure, but it'll never be whole again. You'll always see the lines, feel the weakness, and they'll know deep down that no matter how hard they try, the next little nudge could shatter it all over again. It's never the roar that makes people jump. It's the whisper. The smallest words, the ones that slip through without effort. Those are the ones that leave scars you can't see. People expect the big blow, the dramatic reveal, the loud bang in the night. But no, it's the quiet phrases that do the real damage. A few syllables, stitched together just right, can slide under the skin before anyone realizes they've been cut. And once they're inside, oh, they live there. They echo, they grow. You say something simple, harmless even, and watch the mind wrap around it like a vine curling around a post. They won't even know why they can't stop thinking about it. They'll go about their day, pretending it's nothing, but it'll keep tugging at them. Every smile they fake, every distraction they force, just makes it louder in the silence of their own head. That's the magic of small words. They don't need volume to take up space. They just exist, quietly eating away at the walls people have built around themselves. And here's the beautiful part. Small words don't feel like an attack. Not at first. They feel safe, friendly. They're allowed in without a fight. But once they're through the door, they change shape. They start turning over, revealing sides the listener didn't see before. Suddenly, that casual remark becomes a question. That question becomes doubt. And that doubt becomes a storm. And the person carrying it, They can't even tell when it started. Big words. They're easy to ignore. You can hear someone shout and simply walk away. But the small ones, they plant themselves deep like seeds in soil, and before you realize it, there's something growing inside you that you never invited. And the more you try to pull it out, the more it hurts. So you leave it. You live with it. You carry it. People underestimate the power of small words because they're obsessed with spectacle. But the strongest hits are the ones you never saw coming, the ones you barely even felt, until you look down and realize you've been bleeding this whole time. That's the art. That's the beauty. A single sentence, a single breath, and the world shifts without warning.